Rhendy Bradshaw, welcome to the Tiger Den podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you and I met probably a couple years ago when I was looking for houses in Bloomington-Normal.
Yep.
Just introduce yourself to the people that watch.
Yeah. My name is Rhendy Bradshaw. I live in Bloomington. And let's see, I'm a realtor. I have been for 5 years. My husband and I have 3 children. We have a 16-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, and an 11-year-old boy. So that keeps us busy. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've been in real estate for 5 years. Before that, you were telling me before we jumped on that you were an interior designer.
Yeah, I did some interior decorating and staging before I got licensed. That's kind of how I got into real estate. And before that, I stayed at home with the kiddos for about 12 years. So
12 years.
Yep.
Wow. Do you find that I've heard that like the skill set, and I already know this answer, but the skill sets you pick up by being a mother like are applicable towards essentially anything.
Absolutely anything. Totally. I think most of my success in real estate is because of those 12 years that I had the opportunity to build so many strong relationships with other moms, other business owners, members of the community, friends in church, things like that. So,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're to convince a kid to eat chicken instead of goldfish, it's sales, right?
Totally.
Yeah. And you're trying to connect to the local community around you with school and with church and stuff. So it's just like a natural pivot, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Do you work with a lot of other moms when you are in real estate?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep. I work with a lot of families. I think that comes naturally because you work with who knows and trusts you. So that just comes naturally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about, you guys have been in Bloomington-Normal for how long now?
We've been in Bloomington-Normal for about 13 years.
Okay.
Before that, we were in Atlanta. My husband and I grew up, he grew up in Hopedale. So he lived rural, I lived in small town, and then we just kind of made Bloomington our home after a few years of having children.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So you both were from smaller towns then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So Atlanta, Illinois, or
yes,
okay.
Yes, Atlanta,
Big
Illinois.
distinction.
Big difference. Big difference. Yep.
So you went to school here locally in some place.
Yep. I went to Olympia High School, Heartland Community College. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have, so I'm sure you've worked with people that are transplants from bigger cities and stuff. What's the biggest kind of hurdle to understand the local culture from a big city to Bloomington-Normal, Peoria?
Gosh, I think that people are always surprised by how welcoming people are and how people are very willing to bring you in, which I feel like you can kind of miss that community aspect in a larger town. And to me, Bloomington-Normal is a larger city. Growing up in a small town of 1,400 people, Bloomington-Normal is large. So I was kind of surprised by that it can feel like have a small town feel when you kind of dig in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yes.
It's a very tight-knit community, but it's also big enough where somebody mentions somebody, you're like, I've heard of that person, but I don't necessarily know them.
Yep.
But it's an easy way to kind of get your, just network with people. It's very easy to reach out to somebody and say, hey, let's meet for coffee or whatever the case, and they're more willing to sit down.
I think it's an easy place to build community if you just put the tiniest bit of effort in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur and as a self-motivated, essentially self-taught in real estate, what was the biggest hurdle when you first started in real estate 5 years ago?
I think, I think the biggest hurdle really was myself setting limits on myself, thinking, I can only do this much because I still have to have these responsibilities at home, or I can only do this much because it took me a while to realize how much I could handle. And I think that a lot of people deal with that. You can be your own, kind of have that imposter syndrome almost. That was kind of it. So that was really my biggest hurdle, honestly. I mean, you have to learn the transaction, the ins and outs. Everything's different. But those things, they come with time. But really the biggest hurdle is just holding yourself back.
Yes.
That's been mine.
I have imposter syndrome to this day.
Yeah.
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 But I often remind myself there's a quote from Steve Jobs a number of years ago where he said, everything you see around you, the big buildings, the big businesses, were built by somebody no smarter than yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder to just, it's like everybody has that. I think that we're almost incapable until you do something and then you're like, I can do that. And then you accomplish another task and you're like, you start to build a track record in your own mind that you know it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, you prove yourself to yourself.
Prove yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
Well put. Yeah. So Bloomington-Normal is distinctly different from Peoria, in my opinion. I've lived in both. I grew up in East Peoria. Now I live in Bloomington-Normal. I love the Bloomington-Normal community.
Yeah.
I think it's distinctly different in that it's not Peoria. It's like people don't identify themselves as Peorians, where, well, obviously, but it's like Peoria is the bigger city around, but also Bloomington-Normal has a lot of stuff going on that's exciting.
Yeah.
People are investing in the community. I feel like a lot.
I agree. I think Bloomington-Normal has a lot of business owners, small business owners, and there's once you tap into that, there are so many cool people to meet.
Yes.
And I love that about it. I love that when we were growing up and, we were in high school and we'd come into town, it was like you go to Chili's, you go to those like big chain restaurants, and now we're...
Triple Dipper.
I mean, no shade to the Triple Dipper. But, now there are local restaurants everywhere.
Yes.
Local spots like to take your kids, to take your family. It's just really cool. I love being able to connect with the business owner. At a Chili's, you can't really say, hey, what's up to the owner when you're walking in every time. You don't feel like your dollars are going toward a family or whatever. So.
Right.
It's really cool.
In the insurance, there's large insurance companies, State Farm, Country Financial, and then Rivian, obviously the car manufacturer. My dad worked at Mitsubishi for 20 years.
Wow.
So he drove from East Peoria to Bloomington every day.
Yeah.
But having those large employers, it kind of gives freedom to local entrepreneurs to build businesses because you have this locale of people, thousands of people who work for these companies.
Absolutely. They definitely bring in the clientele that you want.
Yes.
People with disposable income, families, people that are looking to invest and find community. And if you are a small business owner, you have a real opportunity to help build that community.
Let's dive into real estate. Give us an update on the real estate market as you see it in January of 2025.
Yeah, well, it's January in Illinois. So, things, we're still in a big seller's market. I think we still have, a month worth of inventory. So if no new listings came on the market, we'd sell out within a month in Bloomington-Normal.
Is that a lot or a little?
That's a little.
That's a little.
So to have a balanced market, not being either a buyer's or a seller's market, we'd need at least 500 listings, and we have about 100 right now.
Wow.
So we've really still got some low inventory. We still have a lot of buyers. The buyers are starting to come out of the holiday haze right now, which is nice. So we're seeing more sales. It's still a really strong market.
And so the interest rates, are you paying attention to the Fed interest rate meetings and how those impact your business?
We always are paying attention to the interest rates, but you know what? There's a lot of fear mongering, I think, around interest rates, and we haven't seen it affect our local market. We do say that Bloomington-Normal has kind of a Bloomington bubble, where we still do well. Even if the outside world is crazy, we see those big cities saying, they're in sellers markets right now. We're still in a buyer's market because of that low inventory. So we kind of have a Bloomington bubble, and I'm happy being here.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, for a real estate agent, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you see that crossing at some point where people start to sell their houses, or what's the marker that you're looking for people to start selling their homes and having a more surplus in inventory?
I do think that interest rates will affect that. People that bought at 2.5 are kind of sitting saying, I would love to buy a larger home, but I'm going to wait until I'm not paying, 7% interest. So I do think in that way, we may get some more listings popping up if we get some lower interest rates. But right now I'm kind of just watching. We want to see what happens with Rivian, of course. That's a big one. We want to see what continues to happen as far as housing goes. We need more housing in Bloomington. We need more rentals even. So it's kind of a zoom out. There's so many things that affect one market.
Yes. One thing that as a remodeler, and I pay attention to the construction end of business, from a builder's perspective, why would you want to build a house worth $150,000 when you can build the same house in the same period of time for $400,000?
Will you say that again?
So home builders are focusing on building larger homes.
Yep.
And so affordability of homes is really important. So I don't see a lot of homes being built like new homes worth $200,000.
No. Yep. I think in Bloomington-Normal, we're building homes for families. I mean, a big draw is that 4-bed, 2.5-bath home.
That's the stake in the ground.
Yep. That's a big draw for people. So I think that's why builders focus on that, on a family home.
Yes.
And as far as why people are building, new builds right now are becoming more popular because of that lack of inventory.
Yes.
So if you're looking for in that $400,000 to $500,000 price point, we might not have much come up for 6 months, and you might not find what you need. So you could just start building and have what you want.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard a stat like last week that 25% of people never plan to move again. Like people are staying put. They're saying even if interest rates went to 5%, which is a massive improvement, it's still 5% versus what people were used to when they refinanced back at 2.5%, 3%.
Sure.
And so people are saying, I'm going to stay in my house. I'm going to improve it. I'm just going to stay here, and that's it.
Yep.
That impacts your job big time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just creates a strain in the market where people are, you either have to build a home or you got to wait for that perfect house to pop up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buyers have to be patient right now.
Yeah.
Buyers have had to be patient for, since 2020, maybe the end of 2019. You just have to be patient because back in 2020, 2021, you had to be patient because you were in multiple offer situations with every house that you liked.
Yes.
Right now, you might have to be more patient because things aren't popping up as quickly.
Yes.
Patience is just the key right now. And it's not a bad thing. The more time you're looking, the more time you're stacking up your savings account,
Right.
It's not a bad thing. It's just, you just have to be patient and don't be, I always caution people against choosing something because they're desperate to buy a house.
Yes.
Just take your time, find the right thing. It's such a big deal. It's such a big transaction. Oh my gosh, my biggest fear is someone being like, I wish I hadn't bought that house. So if anything, I'm trying to talk somebody out of a house.
Yes. Monica and I my wife and I went through this. We bought a house with Rhendy in April of 24. So about 9 months ago. And the house came up on the market. I called Rhendy right away. We saw it within a couple hours of opening. That house went on the listing, and we put in an offer the next day, full all knowing that there's going to be more offers on the table if we had waited.
Yes.
It was going to be super competitive. And so we put together an offer, full listing, plus like a signing bonus, if they would have signed. Thank the Lord that they accepted it. We love our house in our neighborhood and where we live. But we had seen how many houses with you before that?
We'd been looking for years. You'd take a step back and then I'd hear from you again. And then you're like, we're going to wait a little bit. And we're like, we're changing price point because your life changes within 2 years so much. Your life has, I know. So it was a really fun experience actually working with you guys because we got to see a lot of cool stuff.
We did. Is that frustrating for you to kind of have your buying cycle for a client could be years? And maybe not frustrating is the right word, but you have to have a lot of patience in the real estate industry.
Yeah, if there's one thing that I am really, it's patient with my buyers, that's for sure. Because like I said, my biggest fear, I'd rather wait 3 years for you to buy a house than for you to get into a house and a year later be like, Rhendy, I hate this place. Totally. Why did we buy this?
We got to sell it.
Because that's my fault. It's not. But
it's not your fault.
It's not anyone's fault. It's just what happens. But, I want clients to be happy and satisfied. And one of the big reasons I love real estate is because I love learning about how other people live their lives. So like selling them a house or like working with them to buy a house is like the fastest way to figure that out. Oh, you want a small house because you want to be able to travel every quarter. Oh, you want a big house because you want to have people over all the time. Like, I feel like if you're regretting a purchase, then I didn't listen well enough to you when you were telling me what you needed and what you wanted. Or maybe you just weren't clear on it.
Yes. What was I going to go with that? The quote is, clients become friends before friends become clients.
Oh, I heard that.
Because there's always some trepidation when working with friends because if something goes sour, it might ruin the relationship.
Sure.
But when you meet a stranger, you connect with them. This has happened many times in our business where you hit it off with somebody, they buy a product from you, you do a good job in satisfying their needs, and then they become friends after that. They're like, you can trust this person, they start referring you to other people. But many friends can be made through business, so I'm sure in real estate, that's just even more so.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I make so many friends in real estate. And there are people, that when they buy their house and then, you don't hear from them for, maybe a few weeks or a month or a couple months because they're settled in. You're not talking to them every single day. And I'll be like, hey, did you forget about me? I'm still here.
Are you going to text me?
Do you need like a dinner recommendation? What's up? But yeah. But on the flip side of that, I've also loved working with my family and my friends. Of course, that first year, there were some disappointments, people not quite trusting that, you've got everything under control yet. But yeah, I have no problems with working with a friend or family. It's great.
Yeah, you don't strike me as a person who'd be hard to work with. Well, you're not hard to work with, but
yeah,
I know. But with friends, I mean, sure, it's just a natural part of your friendship with them.
Well, I think there's even that just little bit more pressure. Your friend's not putting on you, but you're putting on yourself on yourself just a little bit more than
to make it perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your personal house, are you guys looking to move anytime in the future? Or
no, I think my husband's in that 25% that says he'll never moving again. I would love to build out on our hunting property one day. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, the kids we're so, in the schools and our routine. It would just be crazy for us to do anything but live right where we are. I can imagine a better house for us in Bloomington-Normal. So it'd have to be like a great house outside of town to figure that out.
Makes sense. Talk about your husband. What does he do for a living? You said he's from what city?
From Hopedale. Well, Delavan. It's a little town outside of Hopedale. He is in medical device sales. So we're both in sales. He just started his own distributorship for a medical device.
Oh, wow.
So that's been really cool to see. We've been together forever. It seems like longer than we haven't at this point in our lives, truly. So, yeah.
And so he, what company did he work for before?
Well, he still works for, oh my gosh, why can't I remember?
Your own husband's job?
Yeah. Oh my God. He works for Boston Scientific.
Okay.
So he sells things for stents, cardiac medical supplies, and urine tests, things like that.
And so he started his own distributorship, the same kind of materials, but he's doing his own thing on the side.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
And how's he enjoying that process?
I think he really likes it.
Yeah.
He's a natural. I mean, he's a good talker. He loves to talk to people. He loves to be on the phone. So it's perfect for him. But it gives him time for his hobbies too. He's a big outdoorsman. So it goes really well. Was
that difficult when you were a stay-at-home mom for 12 years to I know I'm speaking of my wife here, but business doesn't stop when you're in sales.
Yeah.
It's not a 24/7 thing, but oftentimes you'll get, when I called you for our house showing, I think it was like 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. Was that a difficult leap to watch him do that when you were a stay-at-home mom? And I'm sure he was grinding and working really hard and taking calls.
It's all we knew. It's all we've ever known.
Sure.
So it really wasn't a leap or anything. It's just like, okay, this is what it is, and at the beginning of when we first had our first, he was in neuro. So that's a little bit more demanding as far as, if there's a trauma, you have to be there with your stuff. So when he moved into things that were more like in a clinic, it got so much better because it's, 8 to 5 for the most part.
Yeah. I've got a couple friends in medical device sales, and it seems like that industry is just nonstop.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very interesting to learn about. I mean, there's just so much that happens in that space, and it's a business, so it's an interesting space for him.
Is.
And he really enjoys it.
Let's go back to Bloomington-Normal and some of the businesses that you frequent that you love. What's one that you can think about that's like something that you've...
Oh, this is so easy.
Yeah.
Yoga Lab and Lab Coffee. I mean, I'm there all the time. You just asked me how much. I talked to Adam, one of the owners, and I said, every day. They're our closest friends. I am a yoga instructor as well as a realtor. So I teach there. I take yoga there. I love coffee. And they've built such an amazing community that really embodies what I see in Bloomington-Normal as far as business owners.
Yeah. I'm deep in the pickleball community.
Oh yeah.
And shout out to the Pickler. It's a franchise, but I know of the owners, but I've never met them before. Okay. But pickleball has this interesting. Yoga is probably the same. That once you get into the community and start meeting people, it blossoms very quickly. Where you're invited to come play games with other people that you meet one time. And yoga is probably the same way. Once you meet somebody that you like, you're like, come to this class or
Totally.
work out together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, when you have a common passion, I feel like, pickleball people are very passionate about pickleball.
Yeah.
Yoga people are very passionate about yoga, and coffee people are very passionate about coffee. So those
That's
are
so true.
things that you can really connect on. And it doesn't matter what else you do in your life. If you have those things, you can really connect on.
It's essential, though. It's essential to have like a community that you can let off steam, you can de-stress and focus on something other than work and home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Because I don't know if you've ever heard Monica say this, but sometimes when you're staying at home, it's like, am I actually a human apart from these children? Am I anyone when I leave without my kids or my husband, So that's a big, and I mean, I know working mom feels the same way. Fathers, it's so important to have your own thing.
Yes.
So you continue to grow as your own person.
Yes.
Right?
Monica's in that stage right now. We have a 6-month-old at home. Yeah. Got 2 kids, 9 and 8. And it just seems like she's doing a fantastic job, but she's home with the baby all the time.
Yeah.
And so getting, she feels like she's kind of lost a part of herself because it's just part of the nature of having a baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? Actually, can I change my answer that I gave to what was the biggest hurdle? This goes along with myself, starting real estate, but also getting out and being social again without my children, like learning to talk to adults where I don't have my kids with me or we're not talking about a child. It's so big.
It is.
It's a real thing.
Yes. I keep pushing her. I think that's a big challenge for moms, especially for Monica, just because she's a very social person. She loves to be out and about, but you have time frames of napping, of feeding, of changing. And so she has to think about 5 different things before we leave the house where I'm trying to help, but it's like, it's tough.
It's different. That is her job.
It's her job.
You know what I mean? That's like that's what she's the best at. It'd be like her trying to help you with a roofing job or something, She'd be like, yeah, I want to be helpful here, but I don't know exactly what has to happen A to Z.
It's a tremendous amount of pressure, and she used to be a nurse. She's now a stay-at-home mom, and she was dealing with the public all the time when she went into work. She had her work group.
Oh, sorry about that. Go on.
That's okay. Monica had her work group where she was friends with the people she worked with. You're like solving tasks together about these really complicated things. And no matter how stressful it is, you have this community of people that you're building a relationship with every day. And then once you remove yourself from that and you're in the home, you're talking to a 6-month-old who can't talk back, your job is much more difficult.
It's really
maybe not
something.
more difficult, but it's just different.
It is. Yeah. It's different. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your 3 kids, you said you have a
16-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, and an 11-year-old boy.
And how's the process with raising kids with junior high and high school? And
It's really something. I always thought, like, when I was in the thick of it with little kids, I'm like, it's fine. Just get them, get them big, and then it'll be better. And it is. It's so fun because they're becoming people that I really enjoy hanging out with, but also they're becoming people that have their own problems and have their own struggles. And, it's just interesting. It's really fun.
From a mom perspective, watching your kids go through problems, is that hard?
I don't like it.
Watching them having to solve them, it's going to be hard.
Oh my gosh, to try to be hands off. Sometimes it's like, this is the biggest struggle because it feels like a magnet is like pulling me into the situation.
Sure.
I want to tell them, and I'm an oldest daughter in my family, so I feel like I could tell everyone exactly what to do, and if they just did it,
just listen to me and you'll be fine.
Yes, exactly. Like but you so want to do that. You want to help them avoid any kind of heartbreak or disappointment, and you just can't.
No,
we just had a funny. Experience. And my daughter tried out for volleyball team and didn't make it. And it's so upsetting. And she was fine with it. She was okay. But I'm talking to Chad about it, and he's like, well, maybe she'll like horse riding. We could try horse riding. And then if she likes it, we could just get her a horse. I'm like, so we went from not making the volleyball team to buying
a pony.
Horses. But it really can't. And then when you step back, you're like, that was a lot. But it really can feel like, okay, how can we fix this? How can we fix this? And you just can't, because if you fix everything, they're not going to be cool people.
Exactly.
they're not going to be cool people.
I talk about this a lot in the entrepreneurial journey. I think that one of the biggest blessings, but the biggest challenges in entrepreneurism is like failing. You must fail to learn. It's a requirement of life. But watching your kids fail as opposed to you failing yourself, very different things.
It's it's a whole nother animal, really. Yeah. I mean, the biggest successes I've had come after a huge failure. You know, I'm never going to make that mistake again. You know, if you have a big failure, you're never going to make that mistake again. And you're just better because you made that mistake and you have that experience.
And you learned.
Yeah.
What's been the most, I guess, most enjoyable? What's been the most, you're in the thick of raising children. Looking back from 16 down to 0, like what stage can you point to that you feel like you grow the most?
Oh my gosh.
After this point.
I feel like I'm just every stage. I'm growing in every stage because, you know, it's my first time in every stage. I just can't, I don't even think I can pinpoint a stage because, you know, when they're younger and they're throwing fits and things like that, you're growing your patience. When they're getting bigger like this and they have bigger problems, you're growing your communication skills and you're kind of learning how to be a mentor and not, I don't know, it's just every stage you're learning something new and it really puts a mirror up to yourself having children. It does. It does. It puts a mirror up to you and you really see your flaws really quickly, I think, in my experience.
I think about my parents. Even now, they're 60. My parents are 67 and 66. They're getting older. And this is, I heard a quote that this is their first time being parents of kids at 35 as well.
Yeah.
So we have to have grace toward having children yourself provides grace to have your own parents to be like, they're just trying their best as well.
Yeah, I mean, you see them as humans finally.
Human beings,
not just parents where you're like, they should have this figured out. And it's kind of annoying that they don't. You know?
Aren't they the professionals?
Yeah,
but this is their first time as well.
Yeah.
My mom was one of 8 children.
Wow.
And my grandparents, I just heard this from my uncle the other day, and they didn't have indoor plumbing until he was in high school.
Wow.
Yes. When they went to a farm. Let me rephrase that. They had a farm. So my great-grandparents, at the great-grandparents' house, there was no indoor plumbing until he was in high school. So when they visited my great-grandparents, like he remembers still walking out in the night to go to the outhouse.
Oh my goodness.
Which is just such a bizarre thing to think about because we have TikTok now.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's dive into that. I know. Okay. So we follow each other on TikTok.
Yep.
You are an avid TikTok user, I assume.
I do like TikTok.
I love it. I'm not afraid to say that.
Yeah, I do like it.
I love the app. And it's created such a cool community for me to watch and to be a part of.
Yeah. Like I told you, I love learning how other people live. Same. Well, like TikTok is like catnip for someone like that because you can learn about anyone.
Anything.
You know, I mean, there's so many different sides of TikTok. You can learn about books. Coloring is a big one that I've seen. Like
coloring. Dive into that.
Well, people love coloring now. It's like adults love coloring. It's such a soothing habit. I mean, especially people that like audiobooks. You're coloring, you're listening to your audiobook, you're 110, you're actually 38, you know?
Do you do this?
Do you color and listen to audiobooks? My daughter and I got really into the coloring over Christmas break.
Oh, that's fascinating.
I know. See, it's so, you didn't even know. Yeah. Now you know.
Do you ever, so people who don't watch TikTok, and there's a distinct difference because there's like TikTok euphemisms. Like there are certain trends that happen and like trust fund blue eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I just say that, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But to the average person who doesn't, they have no context what you're saying.
Yes. And it's so interesting because my husband does not have TikTok. He's never had TikTok. So we're on two opposite ends of the spectrum. You know, my kids will bring something up that they see on like their YouTube shorts, but it gets to YouTube shorts about like 3 months later or whatever.
Yes.
It's really funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something that builds a good relationship with my wife, with my friends, is like sending TikToks back and forth to each other.
Oh yeah.
And it's a fun thing to like at the end. I saw that a married couple that are older, they send Instagram reels or TikToks to each other, and then at the end of the night they watch them together.
That's so sweet.
I was like, that sounds like an amazing date night.
It sounds
like,
awesome.
Watch this.
Yeah.
This is a total, like very specific cultural thing, but have you ever seen dart clips on TikTok?
Dark clips.
Dart.
Dart.
D-A-R-T.
No.
Okay. So in England and in European countries, darts is like a huge sport.
Okay.
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 So there's something that I just educated Monica on the other night. It's called a 9-darter.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a game called 501.
All right.
So stick with me. 501's the number. Let's say you hit a 20, you go down 20 points.
Okay.
So you go down to 481. Okay. So your goal is to get down to 0 as fast as you possibly can.
Okay.
So in darts, if you hit a 9-darter, a triple 20 is worth 60 points.
Okay.
Okay. So you have 3 darts. Triple 20, triple 20, triple 20 would be 180 points.
Okay.
So you go from 501 down to 321.
Don't hurt yourself.
Okay. 501 to 321. Yeah. So it's like, okay, if you do that 9 times, like 9 darts in a row, it's called a 9-darter.
Okay.
And it's very rare.
All right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very hard to do. But at these competitions, like they have an announcer right next to the dartboard. So when they hit 180, the guy goes, 180. Have you heard this at all?
No.
Okay, this is totally bizarre.
I have got to find.
Oh, I gotta send it to you.
You know what? Coloring is going to be on your TikTok
Okay, well,
tonight,
we'll just start sharing.
and darting is going to be on mine.
Yes.
So that's so interesting, and it sounds. My husband is an archer, so it sounds similar.
Like you've hit a bullseye, it's a certain amount of points.
Yeah. Yes,
So I'll walk around the house sometimes now, and Monica will be across, and I'll say 108. You know.
And she's like,
what is going on? But I showed this to her and she's like, what are you on? But the dart culture. Imagine a huge crowd of people and there's 2 people at the front throwing darts. Once somebody hits triple 20 3 times, the crowd kind of gets interested.
Oh yeah.
The second time they step up, if they do it again, the crowd's going bananas. And they're just like, so if you're throwing, I'm going way cultural specific here. If you throw triple 20 on the 4th shot, they'll go, hey, triple 20 second time, hey, it just gets, it builds, right? So people in England are probably like, this American's going off on, on darts, but it's just such a specific cultural moment that I've gotten into because of TikTok.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It is cool.
You learn so much.
So much.
Yeah.
Not to talk 5 minutes about darts, but that is I love that TikTok's given us an avenue to share real life with people.
Yeah, you can connect with people that you would never connect with before.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I'm going to be really sad if it goes away.
I will be too. Yeah. I'll miss it. It's just not the same over on, Instagram or YouTube or wherever.
I saw a clip of somebody saying sharing a TikTok versus sharing an Instagram reel. And the guy said something goofy and a bunch of people were like laughing and saying, oh, this is me, this is whatever. And he shared the same clip on Instagram reels and the people were like, grow up, bro. Like,
get a life.
This is not real. But yeah, the culture of TikTok is very much goofy, and you can find a lot of fun videos that you can't find in any other place.
And really, the comment section is if you find a funny video, you have got to go to the comment section because people are hilarious. People are so witty. I'm like, how'd you think of that?
But then sometimes you'll like say the thing out loud in your head.
Yes.
Go to the comments and you're like, yes.
Exactly. You feel so seen.
When you go to a funny TikTok and then the first comment is the way I ran to the comment section so fast. Yeah. It's like, that was me. Yes. I immediately jumped on the chat.
You knew that this was going to be a good section to be in.
Yeah. That's social media in a nutshell, that like, it's you're meeting strangers for the first time. And there's a guy in Peoria who's like a massive, he posts TikToks for a couple of years. He's got like 3 million followers.
Wow.
I've messaged him several times to say, I want to have you on the podcast and talk. But yeah, he's a Peoria kid living in his mom's basement. And that's kind of his mantra as he posts things about being in his mom's basement.
That's funny.
But yeah.
That's so cool. I need to find this guy before the 16th. Before it's over.
So, so if TikTok goes away, what do you do?
Well, I still interact with my friends and even people in town a lot on Instagram. That's really where I interact with most people. TikTok's just like a silly, fun thing to do. But, Instagram is still where I'm a millennial. So
Same.
I'm still on Instagram.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, maybe it'll just like veer a little bit more towards TikTok vibes.
It's funny watching Gen Z on social media versus, because it's like the okay boomer towards the millennials, right? Like we're seen as older people now.
Yeah.
But we don't identify, at least I don't, as an older person.
Oh.
And so it's a strange kind of, they see themselves as real young.
Yes.
And we are now the older people.
Which is rude, honestly.
Rude.
True, but yeah, you're right. We are those people, and it's really crazy to think back to when I'm almost 40. So when my mom was 40, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have much time left with her. You think that they're so much older than they are, but really, she was in the prime of her life, and here I am thinking she's on her deathbed.
It's true.
As a child, and I just wonder if my kids think that way about me.
About you.
Are they thinking like, mom is so old? Or,
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably true.
But I don't feel like we dress like we're older people.
No, you're right.
Or we look younger. I think we have more a natural inclination towards health. It's just built that way over time.
Well, and I think social media probably has a lot to do with that. We
Totally.
get to see how other people do things.
Yeah.
It just really opens our world up.
It doesn't stop me from judging younger people, though, in the sense that when they wear things that are weird, I'm just kind of like, not for me.
Oh, that's a choice that you made. And that's okay.
Like designer clothes and stuff, I'm just not interested.
Yeah. Well, you know what? My, they have those like YouTube families that kind of make YouTube family videos and stuff like that. So my youngest, when he had a family that he loved to watch, and they had kids his age that played Legos, and he was really into Legos. But anyway, he asked for his birthday a Gucci backpack because he had no idea what Gucci was. But, he saw this little kid with a Gucci
backpack. Do you guys have any
backpack.
Gucci stuff in the house?
My glasses are Gucci.
Hey!
No, but it was just really funny. And one of our friends had a Gucci bag, and he was like, Mom, see, Miss Landland has a Gucci bag. Why can't I have one? I'm like, she might have worked really hard for that.
Really hard. Or has a lot of subscribers to
right.
pay for that.
And it just becomes they think this is a normal thing to have a Gucci backpack.
Yeah.
That is not, no one is walking down the street probably in Bloomington-Normal as a child with a Gucci backpack.
Yeah. I was, my friend Cody Jones, shout out Cody Jones, his first cousin, his name's Cade, and he was much younger than us. He's probably 24 now. So a couple years ago, he was like early 20s. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to save up money. I'm going to get a Gucci belt. Okay. And I was like, never in my life have I said that phrase. Because Gucci belts are probably $500-$600, maybe more.
For a belt.
For a belt.
For a belt.
Yeah. Which you can get at Target for $20.
You can.
Yeah. So that just doesn't compute with my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a status symbol.
I love fashion. That's something I really like. I think it's a really cool way to show your creativity. But yeah, you have to stop somewhere. That $500 belt, I don't know. In this economy?
Yeah, in this economy? That's another TikTok.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
But I'm a huge fan of fashion too, and representing myself in the way that I want to present myself to the world.
Totally.
My mom, years ago, my brother was dressing up for like a chorus concert, and he dressed up in the way that he saw he was going to present himself on this chorus concert. And he was walking into the high school that we were at, East PR High School, and he was like more elevated dressed than a lot of people around him. And he said to my mom, turned to my mom and said, I think I overdressed. And she responded like, this is such a wisdom-filled statement. She's like, you choose how you represent yourself to the world and be confident in that. I'm like,
very cool.
I still remember that. And so when I think to myself, I might be dressed too high or too whatever, it's like, no, be confident in how you're going to dress, and this is what you're going to do.
That's a really good perspective
to
have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny because the kids, like I'm 100 years old. The kids nowadays, they're very casual. Or my children, going to school, and it's just so interesting.
It is.
They think an elevated outfit is like a matching Nike sweatsuit. That is like peak looking great to them. You know what I mean? And when we were younger, it was some low-rise Abercrombie flares.
Did you use the pop your collar back in the day?
I don't remember specifically popping my collar.
Okay.
I don't, but I may have.
Okay. Popping collars in our high school was a big deal.
Yeah.
People used to pop their collar in like double pop collars. So you wear two polos, both pop collars, have like a white and then like an orange or something. Oh. It was a big deal.
I can imagine how nice that looked.
Yeah. My buddy had in the high school yearbook photo, he had a pop collar, and they told him like, you should probably put that down. He's like, absolutely not. This is like,
I starched
this is peak fashion. Exactly. This is peak fashion.
That's amazing.
Yeah. How fast times change. But at the same time, I saw another video as well describing like, if you think about the 50s, the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I told you to dress an outfit for those decades, they're very different decades. Fashion has not changed all that much Like you're wearing something that could still be in fashion from 10 years ago.
Sure, totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's still in fashion now. I don't think in the 2000s or 2010s, we've had these stark contrast decades of fashion.
Yeah, I kind of agree. There are some things where like you said, the popped collars. We used to wear like 3 layered tank tops under our graphic tees, things like that. But in general, I think things have just gotten so much more casual.
Yeah.
You can kind
of
more
basic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that the pandemic and being at your house or in our homes, has really brought about a need for comfort.
Totally.
You
Let's take it back to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So you started your real estate career 5 years ago, which is almost exactly the time that the pandemic hit. Was that the reason for the change?
The change in what?
Your career path.
Oh, no, it wasn't. My first year was pretty normal, quote unquote, in real estate, I would say. But no, it was just my youngest had gone to kindergarten. So it was time for me to figure out what I wanted to do. I kind of thought, well, do I stay at home forever? And there's plenty of work to be done, I'm sure I can fill my time. But no, I thought, I was staging for realtors, some of their listings, and I just saw like they were really connected to their clients, and I thought I think this would be a good move.
So was there people in your life that you are friends with in real estate that said like, Rhendy, you'd be great at this job, you should try it out?
There were a couple of people, and the realtor that we used to move into Bloomington was a big part of it. He was awesome. He created...
What's his name?
His name's Danny Carcason. He's a top agent in town, and he just created a really smooth process for us. It felt really pretty easy. And, my husband and I were young. It was our second home that we were purchasing, and he just made it seem very doable. It was great. So I'm like, I think I want to do something. I want to be able to help people like that.
Yes. Let's talk about the do's and don'ts of real estate.
Okay.
In working with a real estate agent.
Okay.
Can you tell me a story, or maybe not a story, but something that you found out that is a common theme that like people may think they want to do, but you shouldn't do, or like what's something that sticks out in your mind that's like, do not do this during a real estate transaction or working with a real estate agent?
I would say just talk to your lender and just be really firm and like, this is what I can spend, know what you want to spend. That's probably the biggest thing. Don't make any huge purchases while you're under contract. Don't buy a new car. It's only happened to me one time. I think that most lenders and most agents will tell you, like, don't do anything crazy. Or when I'm walking through a home with someone, they're like, yeah, this kind of furniture would be here. I'm like, it would look great, but make sure you wait until after closing to buy that.
Makes sense.
Because it can change your credit. Yeah, I think those are the big don'ts. You don't overspend, because you're never going to love your house if you're just strapped to it.
So true.
Don't be house poor.
Yes. And
I can't tell people what to spend. That's kind of more between them and the lender. And it's really each person's different. Like I talked about earlier, do you want to have a smaller home because you love travel? Do you love to spend your money other places? Or do you want this to be like your hub and this is where you put your finances?
It's like, know what you're purchasing.
Yeah. Know what you're getting into, know what you want, your need, know your lifestyle.
Is there ever a time where people come to you and say, I want to buy a house, but you just, through the education process and getting to know the client, you're like, you should probably rent right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
do you have a lot of connections in the rental space as well?
Yep, I do. A lot. A lot of realtors are also landlords. So I have a lot of connections in that way. And we have a lot of connections with the property management companies in town. So that's definitely something. If it's just not making sense, sometimes people really want it so badly, but you just have to be like, if you were my friend, I would tell you, do not do this right now,
That's going to be tough.
Yeah, it is. But like I said, it makes you feel better in the long run.
Yes.
Because they're going to come back to you when they're ready.
So real estate, do you plan to be in the real estate industry and this is like your career for the next 20 years? It's
so interesting that you're asking that, because this is my 5th year. And that's just something I really have been thinking about. Like, I feel like I've met my goals in real estate. Of course, you can always do more, always do better. Like, that's just part of who I am. I always can find a way to improve. But I think the next thing will be growing my team. My business partner and I have a team, and I think we'd like to grow that and kind of take on a mentorship role to younger agents, because that's something. I had a great mentor in Danny, and I would just really love to recreate that.
So who would you be looking for who do you think, not who, but what characteristics makes up a person who would be good for real estate?
I mean, someone who is driven, who likes people. You can't be a realtor if you just don't like people. That's the problem. I feel like people that make really good realtors are like hairdressers, bartenders, people that are with the public a lot. People, because loving houses isn't going to get you where you want to be in real estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's talk about day one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say somebody is like, I want to do this. It's day one. I'm going to be a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. How the heck do you go from that to getting your first client?
Gosh, there are a lot of steps in between, really.
Yeah.
Patience is key in real estate. Because there's the process of getting licensed, which whatever, you can get through that. All you have to do is study. But I think getting your first client, you really have to just put yourself out there as a trustworthy person, because it's such a big purchase. People do not want to use a realtor that doesn't seem trustworthy. So, let everyone know what you want to do. Even if you're not licensed yet, just tell people, I'm getting licensed. This is what I want to do, and show them that you have knowledge. You can be posting and talking to your friends about real estate, even if you're just working through your classes and stuff. You don't have to be licensed to start kind of talking about real estate. Don't give advice, but, just be talking about it. Grow your knowledge and bring people along with you.
Do you find social media to be a good angle to do that then?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. I think that's a really great way to start pre-educating your clients.
Yeah.
Because most of your clients are coming from most of my clients now are coming from referrals, because it's my 5th year in the business. So it's just either people I know or have worked with in the past, give someone my name. Yes. But at first, you're your own referral. You have to put yourself out there and let people know that you're educated in what you're doing and that you are prepared to help them.
Totally.
Yeah.
When I first started this journey as an entrepreneur, roofing, solar, all this stuff, I had 1,700 Facebook friends. Okay. What I did was I had like 4 or 5 people that I thought were movers and shakers in Peoria. And I went to their friends list on Facebook and I added thousands of people. I literally hit the add friends limit like every day for like 2 months.
I love that.
So I went from 1,700 friends to like 5,000. And some of these people would message me on Facebook and be like, I see you're adding a bunch of people. Like, why are you doing this? Who are you?
Are you a bot?
Yeah. And I changed my name from Benjamin Morrow to Benjamin Tiger. And then once I had this like friend group built up, I started making videos every day. And most of them were not tailored on roofing at all. I just said something's coming, and I started doing dance videos, like fun content. And people would start commenting, and I would like, same thing as TikTok, I would start to become friends with the people commenting on my stuff. And then I launched the roofing company, and like overnight, I had like a bunch of potential buyers texting me and saying like, hey, I need this, I need help, can you help me? So what I tell people in any business is like, build up a following and just start posting every day.
Yeah.
Even if it's not something totally related to your industry, have people get to know you.
Absolutely. I think that's so true. I have people asking me questions about everything regarding Bloomington-Normal, all things Bloomington-Normal all the time. And it's not, hey, how's the market? It's, hey, do you have a plumber recommendation? Or, hey, who does your hair? Or who would you order a birthday cake from?
Yes.
Just become a master of your community.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by proxy, they're like, well, if I need real estate transactions, I know already who I'm going to go to.
Totally.
If she has good suggestions here, certainly she'll have a good suggestion with my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the podcast is the Tiger Den is really built around that premise of connecting local people that generally don't have the same connections.
Yeah.
I really want to. So if I have somebody on who's going to be doing something like, I don't know, I have a bunch of people coming on. I had a military person on last week. I have Mishi Malouf from Scope Mode Fitness. She's a fitness instructor. So like tying these people together that don't normally know each other creates a network effect where we're all sort of now in the space. We all can recommend each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you get to know people in the community that have businesses. I mean, it's just like real estate. If I need something done in my house, a plumber, like I know exactly who I'm going to call right now. Right. You know what I mean? Because I trust that person. That person has helped 5 other of my clients help. You know, if I have a roof issue with a client, obviously I'm calling you to be like, can you come look at this? Because I'm not getting up on that ladder, you know. I don't know what I'm looking for, but I know people that do. I've built a team for my clients, a really solid team.
Isn't that funny, Rhendy, where it's almost like that, what you just said is not an objective. You're not selling a thing. Mm-hmm. So like you're selling a house. Yeah. But my point is that the real value in a real estate agent is knowledge of the community and of people. Mm-hmm. It's like an intermediary to connect people.
Yeah, because I'm not always the listing agent on the homes that I'm selling for my buyers. You know, it's not like I'm selling a specific house. You're working with me because I have the knowledge and connections that we need to get you to the finish line.
Yes.
To help you complete your goals.
Let's talk about someone who we both know, who I introduced you to, that I'm a huge fan of, Quinn Romolo.
Oh, yeah. Yes. She's great.
So you talked to Quinn. Did you guys go out for coffee or something?
Yeah, we went to lunch.
Okay, cool. And tell me your experience with Quinn.
Oh, it's so fun. She's just such a warm person.
She is.
It's so easy to talk to.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, you know, she's in Peoria. I'm in Bloomington-Normal. You're our person in common. But once we started talking, we had other people in common. She lives in the same neighborhood as my cousin. Like she knows this person. You know, it's really cool once you just start connecting the dots.
Yes.
With people.
Quinn went through a period of like going through a couple different jobs where she was like trying to figure stuff out. She actually worked here for a short period of time, selling solar systems, like getting people in the area. And she from day one, I'm just like, Quinn, like whatever you commit yourself to, you're going to be tremendous at.
Totally.
She's just one of those people where she's got it. She's got the it. And when she put her mind into mortgages and working for U.S. Bank, we have our mortgage through U.S. Bank.
Yep.
I love the process.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because of Quinn. She's just like, she was fighting battles on the backside to figure out all this stuff. And I only probably know 10% of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I just signed the paperwork and we're good.
Yep. Yeah. She's great. And she, you know, gives you the confidence. Like even if there's something crazy going on in the background, she's like, it's great. We're going to get there.
Yes.
You know? So it's really cool.
It is.
And she was great to work with as a real estate agent too. I just had a lot of confidence that we were going to get there.
So as you meet these people because obviously you have a lot of connections with insurance agents, with banking people, with what's another kind of industry that you're connected to?
Home inspections, any kind of electricians, plumbers, handymen, attorneys, title work, you know, all of it.
So it's kind of like speed dating in a sense when you first start to find out what people's personalities are.
Yes.
And then you kind of find your people.
Yes.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah. I have a few attorneys that I like to work with. I have a few home inspectors that I like to work with. I have a few lenders that I like to work with. And once I meet someone, I'm like, those people would be great together, you know, and that's how we kind of meet them. And if they trust me enough, then they'll use those people. Sometimes like you already had a relationship with Quinn. So, you know, you already had someone, and which actually was great because now I have another connection.
Yes. It's funny how that works because in business now, in the internet age, it just seems like, just go to Google and search for the best one and just find that person.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a very non-human element where it's just like the internet is telling you who to call. As you get to know people and what their ethos is and how they operate, it's very fun to start making connections in those spaces and be like, I've got a guy for this. Yes.
It's so fun.
Passing business back and forth is fantastic.
Yes. And you know what? I would never Google, where should I eat lunch today? I'm going to text someone like, hey, where should I eat lunch? I'm here, you know, that I know, because they're going to know what I like and they are going to give me a better recommendation than Google would.
Yes. Yeah. Some friends. No, I have a couple friends. I'm like, their palate is it's sharpened.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, you know, I'm going to be here. Where's the best birthday cake? Where's the best place to have my 11-year-old's birthday? I'm probably not going to trust Google on that because they don't know my 11-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How has your parenting style changed from, obviously your 16-year-old turned 11 before your 11-year-old turned 11. So like, has your parenting vision changed since you've had 2 kids go through that age and now you have your youngest?
Oh my gosh, yes, for sure.
In what ways?
I think when I was a young parent, I felt very much like my child's behavior was a reflection on me. And it was hard to get over that, to be like, no, that he's being a 3-year-old. It's not because of something you've done. He's throwing a fit because he's 3 and he can't get his emotions out any other way. It's not because you're a bad mom and you didn't teach him how to not throw a fit. I don't know. I think so. Like being able to like kind of zoom out has been really nice. There's so many things that we do now with our younger son that, you know, we probably didn't with our oldest. And I'll tell Logan, my oldest, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was really uptight or I was this. And he's like, okay, Mom. You know? He's okay. He's not scarred.
But that's something you're thinking about.
Yeah.
But he's just like, whatever.
Yeah. I think we've lightened up a lot.
Yeah. I went to my oldest daughter. she's in 4th grade, and I went to their class to talk about renewable energy and solar and wind and stuff. And my daughters and I started a business this last summer cleaning garbage cans. And so like I want to teach them entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah. That if you want to go buy a toy at Target, it costs money. And if you want money, you have to work for it. So like that simple concept of like, let's see if we can start a business and just go knock on doors and make some money. So we actually started a business doing garbage can cleaning in our neighborhood because garbage cans are dirty. Right. And nobody cleans them. So I bought a pressure washer. That was my seed investment. And then they knocked doors. I had them do all the sales and sell these things. And then we would pull them down together and I would clean them out and push them back. Yeah. So in one weekend, we made like $450. Wow. And they were like mind blown. Yeah, you know? Of course. So I went into her classroom and I was telling the story and I had a picture on the screen of our business and we were talking about it. And my daughter's face turned bright red. And she was like almost in tears. She's like, oh, and I transported back to a 4th grader's mindset of like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Being in relationship with the kids in your class and your parents there talking about you in a doting way. Yeah. It's like, Dad, like, you know?
How embarrassing that I have like a dad that loves me.
Yeah. It's like, right. And so she was almost in tears. Like not sad tears, but just like, Dad, you're embarrassing. And I was like, let me, Dad, come on. And so I just forgot what it's like to be a 4th grader, you know?
Yeah. You know what? And I do like feel myself, especially with my 13-year-old daughter, because she is me when I was 13. So when she's, 13-year-old girls, everything that comes along with that, it's great. And I'm also like, wow, Mom, sorry that I did was this way. It gives you really good, you can really relate to your parents and what they were going through.
Did you call your mom after and be like, I'm just really,
I have said like, I'm so sorry about that. But also I was right. Like, that's how I was feeling. That's how you're feeling.
Please listen to me.
That's like how she's feeling. That's how they're feeling. And you just have to be like, okay, this maybe isn't how I would like you to tell me that this is how you're feeling. Yeah. But I, as the adult, have to kind of remove myself from that and just kind of hear what you're saying and not maybe how you're saying it.
Totally. Or solve the problem right away.
Right.
Like we talked about. Father.
Yes.
That's like step one. Problem comes up. I'm going to solve it. And it's like, no, actually, you just need to talk through it and actually just listen.
Yeah. Like Chad was going to solve the volleyball problem with a pony, and really all Lindley needed was like, oh, I'm sorry. Are you upset about that? And she said, I've never played before and they all have. And maybe I'll practice more for next time,
What a beautiful disposition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Really. It's really neat to see them become wise and start teaching you things.
Yeah.
Neat.
My kids will retort something sometimes and like, man, yeah, they're right. And I need to just be like, I'm sorry. And I'm learning too. And
exactly. There's a lot of apologies to be made. I feel like when you're learning to be a parent. I mean, even just, everyone's rushing out the door and everyone's stressed and no one's being nice to each other. And you get in the car and you're like, okay, let's reset a little bit here. We don't have to drag this on for the next 3 hours. Let's all just chill and be our better selves now.
There's a big difference between this generation and 25, 30 years ago where my parents didn't have the internet to look to. We've already talked about TikTok and Instagram, YouTube. We can look up right now a 2-hour masterclass on parenting and educate ourselves on that stuff. My parents didn't have that. All they had was their closer friend groups and their family, and that's their representation. That's it. So like in one sense, we have to be careful because we have so much more knowledge now that we can pull from.
So true. It's hard to know which one's right. And I don't know if there's always a right. And if there is a right, it's different for every kid.
That's right.
So you just got to do your best, you know?
And at some point, you got to stop listening to the professionals and just be like, this is the way I'm going to parent, and this is the way my kids are going to be raised. And because different professionals could have different ways to. I saw a whole trend going around of like, you probably saw it too. It was like hard parenting versus soft parenting.
Sure.
And there's a whole bunch of different things on this, but there was kids that went to their fathers and said like, how would you have reacted if you knew this? And parents would have totally different reactions, and the kids were normal and they were doing fine. All that to say, basically there's different ways to parent your kids. And by the way, you don't control how your kid's personality comes out.
You do not.
It's a gift from God, and you just have to steward that as best you can.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, and even my husband and I have very different ways of thinking. We're two totally different people, and my kids need both of those.
That's right.
And it's hard as a mom to accept that sometimes, because I don't want to see my kids getting in trouble by someone else. Even my husband, who I love dearly and I know that he loves them just as much as I do. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's my baby actually. So you could just sit down.
I birthed that person.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
mine.
need to chill.
That's mine.
Yeah.
But if I'm the one that's upset, then, it's totally fine.
I have two daughters I've mentioned, and we have a new 6-month-old boy. And my disposition, my like energy towards him is so much different. When I get home, I just want to like chew on him and throw him around. You know what I mean? It's like boys and girls are just different. And Monica will be like, Ben, you're being a little rough. And I'm like, the boy's laughing. You know what I mean? And it's like, boys, we just crave that. We just want to punch each other. Not that I'm going to punch my child.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I know.
It's just part of our testosterone or something.
Yep. I get it.
Now that I've done it so much with him, even if I just look at him and I'm acting like I'm going to do, he just like, he gets riled up.
So excited.
It's 6 months old.
Yeah. And it's like 10 minutes till bedtime. Monica's about to murder you.
And Monica's just like the most gentle,
Yeah, they need both.
They need both. Yeah. So 3 kids, real estate, Bloomington-Normal.
Yep.
TikTok.
Yep.
What's something else that you're passionate about that normally wouldn't come out? Like a personal hobby of yours that you've got into in the past couple of years? I'm really into reading lately. I saw your book reviews on TikTok.
Yeah, I've always been a reader. Okay. But I feel like I've become more avid reader in the last few years. I think mostly I have more free time now that the kids are bigger. Yeah. So I can really get into it a little bit more. So that's a big one. Love books. I really love yoga. It's been something that I've done throughout my life, and it's always brought me just a way to kind of decompress and kind of work through things. When your body's moving, your mind tends to calm down a little bit more, so you see things a little bit more clearly. And it's something that even when my kids were little, we would do yoga. Of course, none of them want to do yoga with me now, but when we were little, we'd always do a few poses before bed, or it was a really fun way to connect with them then. But that's a big way that I connect with people now.
When I play pickleball, there's times like when I'm playing, I usually play for like 2-3 hours. It's a long period of time. But like after probably the first 30, 45 minutes to an hour, my brain almost turns off. And it's just reaction time. And they call it being in, what do you call it? There's a term for it. I'll think of it. But essentially your brain, you're not even thinking about what you're doing. Your body's just reacting to what you're seeing. And it's something that's very relaxing, where I'm not thinking about a dang thing other than a yellow ball going across the court. And I find it to be, if I can get up in the morning and play before my day starts, I'm just clear. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And I feel like early mornings have been so instrumental to me to, as far as being a parent. Like my kids were always really early risers, but I always tried to make an effort to get up before them so I could kind of have a little bit of peace in my day before the madness begins. Because even if you have a perfect day with 3 children, it is still madness, Even if they're all little angels, it's still just kind of chaos. And I don't know, have you ever done the Enneagram?
Yes.
Do you know what Enneagram you are?
I'm the one that's the...
Are you like a 3 or
I think it's a 7.
A 7, yeah, I can see that. Like energetic. A thrill seeker.
Thrill seeker, yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm a 9, so I'm calm. Like a peace seeker. So chaos can be a lot for me because I just want everything to be chill. Like I'm very affected by my surroundings. Probably why I love interior decorating, because you have the opportunity to, make your space whatever you need it to be. But so anyway, being a 9, I just love calm. And you don't get that much in the midst of raising 3 kids. So early mornings are always just so special to me. Whether I'm like reading my book or doing a Bible study or even just drinking my coffee and spacing out. It's really, and now that's when I get my workouts in. It's been really.
So you work out in the morning. Do you read at night then, or you read throughout your day? Or
I read throughout my day, just like little pockets.
Pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find little pockets.
I read, this is going to sound so, I don't know how it'll sound, but it's just the truth. I've only read like one or 2 books cover to cover, and it was in 7th grade. It's been a long time. I'm not somebody who can sit and read for a long period of time, or I don't like it. I love to listen.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of stuff, like YouTube videos and teachings and stuff. But reading a book is very different than listening or watching a movie.
Yes.
And maybe people who read would be like, well, duh. But for a non-reader like myself, I remember craving to get to the next paragraph. It's like an addiction. When you have an interesting story you're reading, it's something that becomes like, I can't wait to sit down and read this next part.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many books where I have like the physical book or the Kindle copy, but I also get it on Audible because, you have to live your life. But you got things to do. You have to get up and go. But I love like being able to listen as I'm moving throughout my day and like getting things done. And so I totally relate to that, like wanting to know what's next and not being able to put it down.
Yeah. I specifically remember this moment in my life. It was a book that I was close to the end for. It was building up to a peak of the story. And I was walking in between classes. I think it was in high school. And I was like, I couldn't wait to get to my desk to open the book up.
Yeah.
And when I finished it, I was kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, now the story's over and I have to start a new one.
Yeah.
And so finding those books, is finding books to read Rhendy, kind of like finding another, I don't know, like finding a mystery to go solve, or like, how am I trying to put this? Like finding hidden gems.
Oh, I do feel like sometimes it can be readers will understand this. When you read a good book that's like made you feel a certain way, you want to tell everyone about it. I think that's why book talk is so crazy now. And
I see.
Because when you find something and it makes you feel happy or sad, or you get really connected to those characters, or like you said, you're sad that it's over, you want to share that because you want someone else to feel that way too, but also can kind of be vulnerable because if it's something that really affected you and you're recommending it and you're like, oh gosh, what if they're like, this was like actually trash, but it like changed your life. Have
you seen TikToks, Rhendy, where somebody's watching a movie and they try to show the movie to a friend, and the other friend is kind of sitting on their phone, not paying attention. And it's like people will get this if they've ever experienced it. It's like the movie Interstellar. Have you seen that movie?
No,
before?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh my gosh. So it's basically about, I won't go into the whole plot, but essentially it's about a father and a daughter.
Okay.
And there's a point in the story where the father is essentially recognizing he's losing decades from his relationship with his daughter. He hasn't seen his daughter in a long time. It's about space travel.
Okay.
And there's a part where he sees his daughter talking through a video screen, and he starts weeping, crying. And like if I were showing that movie to you, and during that part you were kind of on your phone spacing out, I'm like, you've got to understand why this is so impactful. But if it doesn't mean the same thing to every person.
Yes,
from a father to a daughter, it's like. Oh.
Totally. And I experience that with my children. When they want you to see something, you're like, I know, like you're checking an email or something. They're like, no, you have to watch. And you look down for 2 seconds. They're like, oh, you missed it.
The Roblox. You missed the part.
Yes, exactly. And you're like, oh, so sorry. Can we rewind it?
I got to get better at that. You're so right.
Yeah.
Daddy, gosh. But it's not, it's something so, their humor.
Yeah.
I've got to become more like that.
It's hard to feign interest in something that's not that interesting to you as an adult. It is. It just is. It is. But you just do it because
you love them.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm still trying to think of that word, Rhendy. It starts with an S.
Starts with an S.
It starts with an S. It's called something state. Something state. I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, look it up.
I wish
Google
I had somebody on the producer.
Like, I wish we had a device where we could just like have access to all of the world's information right now.
State where athletes' brains turn off. Flow state.
Flow state. Okay.
Flow state.
Yoga. Flow.
There you go.
There we go. That's
So it's
exactly
called flow
right.
state, and it's essentially where your brain turns off and your body's just reacting to the movements, and you're not. So when you take lessons on something, let's say you could take lessons on yoga, and you're trying to think about every specific muscle, getting to the right place and stuff. You're still consciously thinking about it, but if you do that enough times, you get to the point where you're not even thinking.
Yeah.
You're just doing it, and then you feel the effects of it. And
Yeah. One of the 5 pillars of Baptiste yoga, which is the kind of yoga I teach and I practice, is vinyasa, which is the flow. So we teach to things that you can do to get into the flow. So things like moving with your breath, having an intention that keeps you really present, noticing things within your body as you're moving, dropping thoughts that aren't serving you, things like that. So I totally get what you're talking about with you get into the flow, you're just moving.
Yeah.
And then it's like after that, you're kind of physically spent, but your mind feels like light.
Light.
Yeah.
Yes. What's a lesson you've learned? Because this is something that's pretty deep. That breathing, like how important is breathing once you've done yoga now for a number of years? Like how important is breathing in everyday life? Do you catch yourself doing breathing exercises throughout your?
Yes. So often, and it's something that I've done with my children too. I mean, of course, it just brings you back down when you can. Again, you're zooming out when you're breathing. You're not focusing on the tiny little things that are, putting that panic in, and it tells your brain that you're safe. If you slow your breath, it's telling your brain we're safe. We're not in trouble. So it's really important. I do it with my children. My youngest was just really upset yesterday during a conversation that we had to have, and I said, breathe. No, in through your nose. And he's like getting more and more worked up. I'm like, looking at him, breathe, so we can have this conversation, because you have to kind of co-regulate with your kids, If you're both going like this, the conversation's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So you have to find a way to do it. And it's so important. I find myself, if I'm getting overwhelmed, I'm like, at bedtime, if I've had like a crazy day, I'll be like breathing heavily, like big inhales, big exhales. And my husband's like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like
I'm
almost okay.
So take us through a 1-minute breathing exercise.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Let's do that on camera. Okay.
Well, let's do box breath. Okay. So imagine in your mind a box. Okay. Take a big inhale, go up the one inside of the box. Find a pause.
One side of the box?
Yeah. Big inhale, go up. Exhale, go across. Big inhale, follow it down. Exhale, follow it across. Inhale, follow it up. Let it go. Big breath in. Big breath out. Let the breath fill up only to your rib cage when you inhale. Stop it at your rib cage. Find a pause. And as you exhale, breathe out through your nose. Let it all go. 2 more breaths just like that. Relax your shoulders. Relax your face.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I feel good.
Okay.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I don't do that ever.
Yeah, you should do that.
I should do that way more often.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's like I wasn't thinking about anything except for that.
A body scan meditation is one that I do all the time. You start at the top of your head, take a breath in, notice the tension at the top of your head, let it out. Move down to your eyebrows, breath in, release, let that tension fall out. And you just move down to your toes until all of the tension, if you're laying on a yoga mat or just in your car, you're just letting all of your weight. I spend so much time like this.
Same.
Or
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
My kids, before they go to bed, my family, we have the second largest chiropractic family in the country.
Wow.
So there's 33 chiropractors in my extended family from generations. So my great grandpa was like number 1 or 2 or 3 in the chiropractic lineage. He took his license from getting, what's the thing called after you get out of war? Where you go to school for free.
Oh, like the GI Bill?
GI Bill.
Okay.
So he took the GI Bill, went to chiropractic school, became a chiropractor, and that's what he did for his whole life. My 3 uncles became chiropractors. So we're huge believers in the nervous system and the spine, because the spine essentially connects all your nerves together. So keeping your spine in alignment with your nerves. So essentially, if you think about like a hose, and if the hose becomes kinked, the water flow can't get from one point to another as fast as what it could. So if you just correct the alignment, the water through the hose can flow. Your nerves are set up similarly, where all of the neurons and all of your blood flow go through those things. And so if your spine is out of alignment and kinking those things, you can't heal, the body can't heal itself as fast, nor can it be at optimum presence. So your brain can't function as well, your livers, kidneys, everything. So every night before bed, I don't adjust my children, I'm not a chiropractor, but it's become a thing where I give them what we call rubbies, or I rub their back. But I've started to massage their neck before bed. So they lay on their backs, and I essentially do deep, you have a curvature in your spine that's threefold. So the lower lumbar starts like this, then the thoracic goes out like this, and then the cervical goes out like this. But oftentimes with cell phones, we do this a majority part of our day. So if you're not resetting that third curve, you can have a straight spine, which is really not good for your central nervous system. So what I do is I take deep rolls in their spine to essentially work that back in. And they love it. They just melt in my arms, which
so
as a
sweet.
father, that's the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, similar to breathing exercises, I'm teaching them to relax their tongue
Oh,
and
totally.
just relax their face and just like sit in before bed.
Yeah, we'll say that sometimes in yoga. Let your tongue fall away from the top roof of your mouth.
Yes.
Let everything chill.
Yes, but these things that we're taught over time, like chiropractic is just such a normal part of my life. I've been adjusted since I was literally hours old. Luca is the same way. We adjusted my kids for a long time. It's just become part of our natural view towards life. This is just what you do. And as much as we can look, where I'm 35 now, I'm looking back at how I was raised and kind of what I picked up over time. Now I'm like trying to influence my children. You're constantly thinking about what is this teaching my child for 20 years down the road, right?
Yes.
Are you doing the same thing?
Oh my gosh, I'm constantly thinking that, because even if they don't take the advice in the moment, you're thinking, well, maybe they'll think back and remember that. Like the thing that your mom said about your brother, how he was presenting himself. She probably in that moment wasn't like, they're going to remember this and talk about it on a podcast in 20 years. But that's what it is. So sometimes that does come into my mind. I'm like, okay, maybe Lane won't breathe in this conversation, but maybe next time he's worked up and he's not with me, maybe he'll hear my voice saying, take a breath.
That's also something that you look back at your life and you've been taught bad habits, or you've learned bad habits from other people.
Yeah.
And I guess just becoming sentient as an adult, whenever that happens, like 26, you like wake up, you're like, wait a second, I'm a human being. You know what I mean?
You're like, I'm actually in control of everything that's going on in my life.
I make choices that's going to impact everything around me. But we are consciously learning from things all throughout life. And there's a lot of things you learn that are not beneficial toward it.
Yes.
So how do we unlearn bad habits? Kind of like what you just said about the breathing exercise. All these things that are not serving me anymore. You have to consciously get rid of those things because we subconsciously act on them daily.
Well, you have to be able to regulate yourself enough, first of all, to notice that you're making choices that aren't serving you.
Bingo.
Because when you're at that heightened state, it's fight or flight. You don't notice anything around you. Your brain just can't. So you have to figure out a way to be able to bring yourself down enough so that you have a clear vision of what's going on in your life. I think a lot of that just comes with growing up. Yeah. Well, like we said on Instagram, they'll tell you grow up. Like sometimes you have to listen to that advice. But also we have so many resources now. I mean, therapy is great. I mean, getting into a community that's honest with you, just finding a way to bring it down so you can see. And and as an adult, you kind of have to be aware, like, okay, maybe this person that I'm talking to, like, they're not going to be able to calm down and hear what I'm saying for what it is because they're so heightened. So just getting older can be rough sometimes. You can be like, dang it, I am aging and I'm seeing all this happen and make it stop. But also I'm like, wow, I have a lot more control of my life and myself than I ever did before.
I went to therapy for like almost 2 years back in 2019, 2021, maybe even some sessions past that. But when I thought of therapy before I went, I thought it was going to be more of like the laying on the couch and like, you know what I mean? Like the standard movie type stuff.
Yeah.
And most of my counseling has been talk therapy, which he didn't even explain this. My counselor didn't explain this to me when we were doing it, but it's a very basic conversation, just like we're having now. And through the conversation, all he's doing is essentially like repeating back what I'm saying to get me to understand how I see the world.
Yeah.
And based on those things, how I can change and mold that. And maybe something I said is just, is that something you want to continue to do? I think that one of the biggest turning points in my life was a session I had with my counselor. And I was going through a really hard time. This is probably 4 or 5 years ago. And he said, so I want you to think about yourself at 40 years old. Do you think that what you're doing right now, if you were still doing it at age 40, would you be happy about your life? And I was like, whoa.
Oof. Yeah.
Whoa. And it changed. It was a trajectory of like, I have control over my actions. I don't need to do anything that I'm doing. And I can actually be somebody different. I can change myself.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
You really can. And you have the resources. We're so lucky. We live where we are and we were born where we are and we look the way we do. We have the resources to literally be the best people that we can.
Yes.
It's just we have to do it, but it's really hard to do.
Super difficult.
It's really hard. I mean, you know what? It's simple, but it's hard. It is. It's simple. It's maybe I feel like what I brought away from therapy was that there are resources. It doesn't have to be a therapist, but he opened my mind to, oh, well, I feel like I'm being really hard on myself. Maybe I need to work on self-compassion, and there's a workbook for that. You know, there's something.
It's a coloring book.
Hopefully. You know, it's like you can do it.
You can do it.
You can do it.
I think that's the main thread of any entrepreneur or any like person I've talked to that done something amazing is at some point you believe it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, every entrepreneur I know has that thing where I'm sure it's a meme. I've seen it. It's like I have this thing where I think I can be pretty good at anything. You know, if I just like try it.
The challenge with the younger generation that I see, the challenge that they're going to have is that I believe that they think that it's easier than what it is.
Yeah.
And so I've seen Gen Z like entrepreneurs and I've seen people start businesses and fail quickly. And what they think is that you have to see things from a 10-year vision of this is going to suck for a long period of time. And there's going to be a moment of breakthrough. And then you see the other side, but it doesn't happen fast. But what we're served on the internet is that there's billionaires that are 22 years old from the internet, that's just easy.
Yeah, right.
And it's not.
I loved when Gary Vaynerchuk, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Vaynerchuk. Yes. Okay. You know, he tells you it's like, yeah, it's going to suck.
It's going to suck.
You know, I think that's good for people to hear. It's going to be tough because, you know, we'll be driving around town. A small example, we'll be driving around town. Maybe we drive by a house. It's like, it's big. It's a really nice house. And one of the kids will be like, how much did that house cost? And I'll say $850,000. And they're like, oh, well, you should just sell more of those.
Oh, sure. Oh, thanks for, yeah.
Why didn't I think of that? You know? But like, it can be that simple, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, but there are things you have to do to get into that price range.
That's right.
It's not just, hey, I want to sell that house.
Yeah.
You know, there are probably 100 steps before you do that.
Sure.
Maybe not for some people. Some people, maybe it comes a little easier depending on like, you know, just lots of different things about your life. But.
This is a question in marketing a lot that happens. It's like, okay, so I want to let's say you want to sell, I don't know, bowling balls. If all you post on the internet and all you talk about is selling bowling balls, you're not going to get very far because people generally have a very kind of closed off nature towards salespeople in general.
Yes.
We're served ads and we're sold things all the time. So if all you do is talk about selling bowling balls, people just don't care. That's why this type of media and having the personal side to business and introducing people to your human side is so valuable because they find that they can trust you with certain things.
Totally.
And as they grow with the trust in you, they'll say, oh, what does this guy do again? He sells bowling balls. You know?
Yeah.
And some people don't realize that these things are connected.
Yeah.
So they're like, if I want to sell bowling balls, I just have to open 50 billboards and talk about bowling balls on commercials. You have to find a niche of people who care about your bowling balls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is when I talk to sellers. I'll ask them what they love about their home. Because that's how you're going to market to people that want to live in your home. It's not always because it's just 4-bed, 2.5 bath. It's because it's a great school district. It's walkable.
The neighborhoods are fantastic.
Yeah, the neighborhood's great. You've got a park. You've got access to a trail. Little things like that. You're selling like a lifestyle, not just a house.
Yes,
That's
you're selling an
like.
idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marketing is so all-encompassing from this because... and marketing has changed quite a bit, but Gary Vee talks about this all the time, that it's about education of the client towards who you are as a person, what you do, how these things will make different. And that's why content is so valuable. There's a guy on TikTok, maybe you've seen him. He has a company called SB Mowing.
Yes.
Do you know this guy?
I love this guy.
Unreal.
He raised like $300,000 for that one elderly woman.
$550.
Oh my gosh.
Rhendy.
Yes, that's like life-changing.
Educate people on what just happened.
Yeah. So this SB Mowing guy, he goes around to homes that look like they've almost been, they haven't.
They're
dilapidated homes. Thank you. And so he'll ask the neighbors sometimes, hey, when's the last place this has been mowed? If someone lives there, he'll talk to them and he gives them a free mowing. But throughout
these are not like standard mowings, by the way.
No.
These are like the weeds are this tall.
Like he's cutting down trees.
Yes.
That have grown because that started as weeds.
All day job.
Yes, absolutely. So anyway, he meets this woman and I can't remember her name, but he connects with her. She's so appreciative. And you can tell that she's elderly. She has a hard time getting around. There's no way she's going to be able to mow her yard. Yes. But he starts a GoFundMe. He keeps going back and like $500,000.
Yes.
All because he posted a TikTok about mowing someone's yard.
Yes.
And it's incredible.
Yeah. But the main thread through that is like he's obviously he's done this many times. This guy's been on TikTok for a long time, but he's giving away his labor for free. He's filming a video and putting it on a free platform, and then just basically he gets business from people seeing these things. And so it would sound antithetical to give stuff away for free or to film this stuff and to give it to the community. And I don't think he's doing it just to make more money. Although that is the end result, it feels very genuine that he's doing this because he loves the people that he meets.
And he's also it's educational because there's some things that he does. I'm like, I didn't know that that's how you got weeds out of a crack in the driveway with a shovel. Are you kidding? That's genius. So it's education. It's that relational part. It's smart guy.
And super satisfying.
Oh my gosh.
To watch it go from these weeds to like a perfect lawn.
The best.
I love that stuff.
And the noises of the mower. It's just the best.
What is it in the human brain that we like when things are tidy and clean?
Feels
like the videos you watch that you ever watch rug cleanings on TikTok?
Do I watch rug cleaning on TikTok? It feels so good.
It is so good.
It's so good.
What is that?
I don't know, but it feels like, when your house is like a crazy mess, like you cannot relax.
No.
It like calms your brain down. Our brains crave it.
Yeah.
That's what everything goes back to kids. I feel like I've been saying, but it's like goes back to they might not want routine, but that is what makes their brains feel good.
They crave it.
Yeah.
They don't know they crave it, but they crave it.
Yeah.
The rug cleanings, it's like they take the rug and they make it's 180 degrees. 180. I'm gonna send
exactly.
You
Send it. Exactly. That the rug cleaning, it's so good. And the guy talking and the thing that I follow, I mean, he might be the most boring voice that I've ever heard, but it's like so calming.
Soothing.
It's so soothing. And it's very monotone. He's like, this rug's filthy. He's like,
well done.
He's like, lots of pet stains. Like, the best.
But rugs nowadays, like they're so like they're cheap. Rugs are much cheaper. But we actually bought one of the first purchases I made for the new home was a Karistan rug from 1950.
Wow! Did you get it locally?
I got it from a guy.
Okay.
This is an interesting.
You know
story,
a guy?
I didn't know a guy.
Okay.
On Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
Which do you love Facebook Marketplace?
My husband loves Facebook Marketplace.
The best.
I haven't really delved in.
It's fantastic, but it's a beautiful Karistan. If you don't know, is an American. I think it's American manufacturer from way popular in the 1950s. They made rugs, handmade, beautiful patterns, vibrant colors. This guy had this rug in a storage unit for a couple decades, and it was his childhood rug when he was a kid. Yeah, so he couldn't give it back. He like couldn't get rid of it, and so I bought this rug from this guy, and it's in our bedroom now, and it's one of my prized possessions.
Wow.
But like the thought of carrying this legacy of this rug from the 1950s to his childhood to now, it's cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, and rugs were made to last for a long period of time. They can be cleaned. Rugs nowadays, I feel like they're more disposable, and cheaper. So
Amazon vibes.
Amazon vibes. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, this has been a tremendous conversation, Rhendy.
Yeah, it's been great.
Thanks for coming on. What do you want to leave the people of Bloomington Pure Normal that are watching this? Anything at all?
Oh my gosh. I don't know, Ben.
Yeah. Putting you on the spot.
No, just thanks. Tune in. Ben's a great connector. Like, I can't wait to see who I can connect with, have the opportunity to connect with after this. I'm really grateful that you thought that I was interesting enough to come to invite me over
You're
to
natural.
talk for an hour. So, so thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. We've been on for, it's been more than an hour, Rhendy.
Okay.
These headphones, I'm telling you, we're like in an alternate universe.
Okay.
We're gonna
It
get off
feels
and be
like it.
It's weird. Once we have a conversation after this, you're going to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, tune in, guys. Thanks for so much for watching this. If you would like to be a part of this show, The Tiger Den, message me and we'll see what's going on. So Rhendy Bradshaw, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time.
180.
Yeah. 180!
I almost had it.